Welcome to T-Set Pass, my weekly Yu-Gi-Oh podcast covering all things from competitive to casual. We've talked a lot about the card game here on the podcast, so this week I'm shaking things up and we're going to be talking anime. I have my friend Abyss back, who we spoke to on a previous episode. She is an amazing Yu-Gi-Oh artist over on Twitter. Please check out her work in the link below. However, before we get into the conversations we're going to be having today about Yu-Gi-Oh GX and Zexal, I want to just make all people aware that Abyss is having a really rough time over in America recently. As a transgender person, it's becoming increasingly difficult for her to live in Florida, and so we've been doing a little bit of a fundraiser to help support her move to a new state. I'll link below if you are interested in giving her any money, but she appreciates all of the donations that she's had so far. Thinking back about the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, I have been a massive fan ever since the original series, but I can't pretend that it wasn't GX that I spent more of my childhood with a mix of 5Ds towards the end. Few things were as exciting as watching Jaden and friends go through the dark world trying to save Jessie, or see if Yusei would break out of the prisons at the start of the Yu-Gi-Oh 5D series. I'm still excited to see if Yu-Gi-Oh can ever capture me in quite the same way again. I know my age did play a factor, but those storylines were just so hard-hitting and interesting that it really changed the game. Without further ado, I'll throw over to me and Abyss when we had our chat about this last time we spoke. After that, I'll be reading the results of polls from last week and answering any comments I may have received. Thank you for listening. I look forward to hearing you on the other side of our chat.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the game. I love collecting it. I love watching the show. Obviously, I'm a bit out of date into the show. I haven't caught up on sevens, I don't think.
Oh, that's fine. I'm out of date too. I think I've only watched 2 of the shows to completion.
Really? Which ones?
GX because so I'll preface afterwards. GX and Zexal, I like those ones specifically because they are students, which means like there is a reason for them to be hyper focused on a card game. One of them is for the the entertainment industry. One of them basically conjures the power of the universe into cards because they like cards. Like, the power of the numbers probably wouldn't have been in trading cards if a 13-year-old did not get his hand on the locket. That's how I'm gonna put it.
No, it's interesting. I think it's interesting how your tastes change over the years. I remember, and it's probably 5Ds spoiling me, but 5Ds was so dark and edgy. And in a good way. Like, I love 5Ds, like that, the satellite, the slum, the class disparity between it. Like, it's interesting. And then you get to Zexal, and you go in the episode 1 of Zexal, and you go from Yusei, which is probably, I would say Yusei is probably the most intelligent character in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like,
that's fair.
Like, he's calm. He's always calm. He never like gets heated, except for when like some people get eaten by monsters or whatever. Like, he's pretty calm 90% of the time. And you go from probably the smartest, oldest Yu-Gi-Oh main character to the youngest and arguably the dumbest, aside from well, actually no, the kid from Sevens is actually a genius. He's like a tech genius. So like the definitely the dumbest original main character at the start of his series.
Oh, absolutely. So I will be the first, as someone that says that Zexal is my favorite, to just say I think that show is like 40 to 50% garbage, right? Like, let me preface. There's a lot of episodes that are nothing. There's a lot of characters you hate. Tetsuo, Patchan, characters you never want to see again. They ruin everything when they are on screen. Sometimes an episode happens where it's just like, oh, hi, I use construction equipment, and it's like, that's the episode. Or you watch the force focused episodes where a guy has like a camera that causes disasters. There's stakes in that episode, but the way the guy acts, like, I understand, like, you know, numbers are controlling their minds. That's like a big part of it. But oh my word, he acts insane. And not in like the fun way like 4 does, as a good example, in the same series. There's a lot of bad shit. That's the point there.
I 100% agree. I think it's like Zexal, like, I still think Zexal's probably, as a whole, I think Zexal's probably like, it's really hard to say what's good in Yu-Gi-Oh because there's so much dud stuff, even in the good series. Like, Zexal 2 is amazing. Like, Zexal 2 is like beyond compare, hard to critique. I love Zexal 1 as well, though, because I love those early episodes where Astral and Yuma hate each other, and when all of Yuma's friends think he's insane. I love that, because it's like a character. It's like a character, like in a real show. You know what I mean? Like sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh, you forget about characters being able to be characters because they spend 90% of their episode playing Yu-Gi-Oh. But like in another show, let's say, and Zexal hard appeals to me because of my love of stuff like Cardcaptor Sakura. It's like a magical girl. He's hiding a secret. Yeah. He's got a secret alter ego. His friends don't know about it. But I love that Yuma has no attempts to keep anything secret at all. He just tells people all the time. Nobody ever believes him, but he's constantly breaking his secret identity because he just wants to get attention. He wants people to like him. He wants to prove that he can do stuff, but he consistently refuses the help of his superpowered guardian because he wants to win duels on his own, and he's terrible at Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like such a great character, and everyone hates him.
Genuinely. I think that out of protagonists, the one I like the most is like, okay, so I said before, I've only seen 2 of the series. I've only seen 2 of the series to completion. I've watched like a lot of DM. I've watched a good amount of 5Ds. I've watched a decent chunk of Brains. The main characters that I actually like the most are definitely Yusei, Yuma specifically because of that character growth arc that actually occurs. Phenomenal stuff, actually having someone that is bad at the game getting educated about the game, and the whole point of their character, especially after coming off of something so dark like 5Ds, like you mentioned, and then going into a character that does not even have a rival in the show. Like, you can say, oh, it was Shark, oh, it was Kite, but no, those guys have independent rivals in 4, and the guy that uses Tachyon Dragon. I'm forgetting the Japanese name off the top of my head.
Mistral or something. I can't remember his stuff. I feel like it's something
that sounds right, but I can't say for sure because I don't want to sound wrong.
No, I'm not afraid to sound wrong. Don't worry, I can be as wrong as well. It's some. I know you mean though. The guy who uses the
107.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys have their own rivals. So he spends the entire show trying to like be friends with literally everyone, even when one person comes in, betrays his trust, basically stabs him in the back, tries to kill him and his friends, and then he just ultimately cannot crack the main character's resolve. When he's trying to get them both murdered, he's like, all right, if I'm gonna die, you're gonna die with me. Yuma's response is just, okay, you're not gonna die alone. And it's just like, come on, how can you hate this guy? There's the first season. That's why you hate the guy. But when you realize that a lot of his flaws, like his annoying catchphrase, is attached to his dad trying to tell him to be the best he could be, and oh wait, his dad is gone, potentially dead before he was even 13. I wonder why he's doing that. Like, there's genuine character present in that show.
My brain, it might as well have like a filter on it because I don't hear the catchphrases. Like, my brain just skips. You know what I mean? Like, in the same way if you were reading a book and somebody had an annoying catchphrase, you just keep reading. You just like skip to the next line. I don't, and because every main character has terrible catchphrases. Like, that's the game we play. We're watching like a young teenager anime. They're gonna have funny ass catchphrases. They're gonna say, I didn't watch the dub for Zexal, so I know it's got like is it like Katabingo or something in Japan?
So there's a few interpretations of it. The main one that we got officially translated was high five this guy. There's I'm gonna bring it to him, but there is like, I don't know the actual phrasing. I don't know exactly what it is, but the one I am the most familiar with is I'm gonna bring it to him, and it's like, that's fine, but at the same time, when you say that at least twice every episode, I start getting like, all right, I got it, buddy.
It's that whole especially between watching things in once a week and watching things on binge. Probably, if you watched one episode of Zexal a week, you probably wouldn't notice where he says, you know, I'm gonna high five this guy. Okay, high five this guy is such an unwieldy sentence. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's unnatural. Like, you don't say anything like that in normal English. It's just so odd. Whereas, like, you know, get your game on. It's quick. It's over, and it might as well just be like, bring it. You know, like
rev it up.
Rev it up, and then kick this duel into overdrive. Did someone say get set to get deck? Jaden
Yeah,
say
get
that?
tagged to get tagged. That was I think that was Jaden, yeah.
It feels like
And,
a
or
Jaden
it was
thing.
Chaz. It might have, or Majome, depending on which one you've watched. But yeah,
I've watched
Chaz Majome, it'd be brutal.
I've watched GX in sub and dub because obviously Series 4 I didn't have a choice, so I just watched all of it in sub again.
Mhm.
And then I've seen original and dub, but I've seen episodes of sub just out of curiosity. Zexal, I've committed to the dub because the more people hate on the dub, the more I will triple down on the Zexal dub because I don't know why. I really like Yuma's voice and everyone hates it, and I don't even know why I like it. And I think I might like it just because everyone hates it. But
I feel that.
I do think at some point it gets worse. I feel like in the same way the Chaz voice gets terrible after when they replaced Chaz for Series 2, the new Chaz voice I did not like. It sounded more like America and less like a rival.
So, I will say, now I could be wrong on this, but to my knowledge, it doesn't help that people hate Zexal so much because there is, to my knowledge, not an official sub of the show, which is why everyone has been forced to watch it in English. So I have had to go to like websites to hunt down fan-made ones and stuff, and that's how I've been re-experiencing the show lately on my rewatch because, you know, I want to. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a good show. It's okay. It's literally my day-to-day. Let me be real. I play a different deck every week. I do art for this to make money. This is literally what I do for my life right now, and I enjoy it because holy shit, this game. I could yell about how much I love this game for a while, but I'm not just gonna do that without honing it in just a tiny bit.
I think you mentioned obviously you make money off Yu-Gi-Oh! Existing.
Yeah.
But I think you wouldn't make money off Yu-Gi-Oh! Existing if you didn't really love it. I think I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! My whole life, and I did my content for a year before I put any kind of monetization on it at all. Mainly because I didn't think anyone would give me anything for it, but partially because I didn't do it. I don't do it for money. I don't get enough money to do it for money. Obviously, you do a lot more because you're an artist. I do it because it's fun, and because I find it fun. Other people find me finding it fun. I think if I faked it, I couldn't do it, and I have done reviews of other things where I'm sort of doing it to sort of. Like I reviewed all of Babe. I rewatched all of Beyblade recently.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Babe, like the pig movies, but Beyblade makes more sense. Yeah, thank you.
I've not rewatched the Babe movies, surprisingly. Beyblade. I watched all of the original series again because I like the original series because I watched it when I grew up. I didn't watch Metal Fight when it came out because even as a kid, I didn't like Metal Fight. I didn't like the voice acting. I didn't like the animation change. I watched it to review it because people kept asking me to it, and I just did not. It's not my best work, but then there never is when you don't care. Like you don't care particularly. Sometimes, and then sometimes that's put me on a big delay for reviewing series in general. Like I reviewed all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc by arc, and some arcs you've got nothing to say. Like I reviewed the virtual arc, and I'm like, there was I don't care. Like
the Cloudian guy was back, I guess. That's it.
No, not the Dark World arc. I'm talking about the Virtual World arc in the original series when they have to go to fight the Penguin. And no. I love the Cloudian guy. The Cloudian guy is one of my favorite characters in all of GX.
Isn't he Andrew Gecko or something like that?
Adrian Gecko in the dub.
Adrian.
And he's Amon in the sub, I think. Or I'm wrong, but I think it's something like that. His arc's crazy. GX, it's weird that GX is like nonsense filler for a whole series. Then it gets really dark out of nowhere. Then it goes back to nonsense filler for all of Series 2. And then Series 3, they're like, we're going to write a tight, character-driven series of arcs for Jesse and Jaden. And all of the characters in Series 3, really, all the new characters in Series 3 have a lot to work with. And none of the old characters from Series 1 and 2, apart from Jaden, get anything to work with. It's kind of odd. What do you think of it? So you finished GX? Did you say? Or Of the two you finished, you GX one. What do you think of like the whole? Because I've seen people complain that they kind of drop all the GX side characters for Series 3, and I agree.
I agree that they do. Really, for me, one of the big things I didn't like is I was drawn to particular characters in that show. Like I really liked. Everyone liked the guy that plays Cyber Dragons because obviously it's one of the fan favorite decks of the entire series. Like, it is up there with Elemental Heroes, Dark Magician, and Blue Eyes. But when they completely rewrote his character, I was like, I don't care. Phenomenal. Or when they just said, oh, hey, we're introducing a bunch of new characters. Characters like, I'm going off of the English because I watch it mostly in that, like Alexis and stuff just disappearing into thin air. It's like, oh, that was a core character. Or, hey, even... gosh, of course I'm forgetting his name right now. Bastion. Yes, thank you for saying it. Because
if it's someone we're talking about being forgotten, who's more forgotten than Bastion? The characters don't even notice that Bastion's not there.
It makes me sad because I unironically really like his vibe. The whole like suit of Dex thing, like his molecular structure, dragons and stuff. It's such a cool vibe. By the way, print Fire Dragon. Already.
We don't know what the third deck is in the new Fire Pack.
What
if it's all Fire Dragon and we don't get any volcanic support and Pain literally explodes in on himself or themselves? Okay. I don't know what Pain identifies as, but yeah, Pain literally just ceases to be. But yeah, no, 100%. But my question is,
sorry, I'm finding something, but please proceed.
Do you think that was a problem when the new characters they brought in were a lot better written? Because I 100% agree. They murdered, literally in the show, all of the supporting cast of GX Series 1 and 2.
Yeah, seriously.
They weren't doing anything with them for a very, very long time. So almost... the fact they were no longer alive made me less annoyed that they weren't doing anything with them.
You know what? I actually can agree with that side of things. I haven't had like hard opinions about it. I've been like, dang, I wish I saw more Bastion. I wish he was like around more. I wish we got to see what more of his decks were so he could like conglomerate them over time and like have interesting support and not be relegated to a really bad speed duel deck. But them being like axed in the name of characters that are actually going to be relevant and have story importance, it's very nice. It's one of those things that just was good about the writing, I suppose. But at the exact same time, them having those characters axed off when they've at least established like an emotional connection to Dune was effective specifically for their storytelling, as they are now two entities by this point, I believe, right?
Yeah. I guess it's yes. Like, let's say we look at Jim Crocodile Cook. He comes in. And
oh my god, cool. I love Jim.
I love Jim. But when you think about it, could Jim not have been Tyranno? Could Tyranno not have done the sacrifice and done the big like Paleozoic meteor? Could Axel not have been Aster? And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like, you know, yeah, I love that Aster and Jim came in and had loads of cool stuff to do. But they gave them loads of cool stuff to do. They could have given somebody else loads of cool stuff to do.
I completely agree. I mean, look, as someone that specifically likes Zexal, I can't even hate it. Because when you say, hey, the original cast of characters are characters no one cares about and we're not doing anything with them, they are being very ineffective and they are actively making screen time worse. I'm not saying that is the case for everyone in the case of GX, but in Zexal specifically, they were like, hey, get them out of here, bring in characters that are important, especially to this new arc. I'm in favor of that. I have no problem with them choosing to make an executive decision like that, especially when it ends up working out, even if people are like sad to see their fan favorite go.
Yeah, I always find Zexal interesting because almost all the problems with Zexal come from it trying to be a remake of original Yu-Gi-Oh! Like the fact that his squad at the start is so big is obviously to reference the Joey, Taya, Tristan, Duke mentality. And it's like, why does Tori get nothing to do? Well, Tori gets nothing to do because Taya had nothing to do and she is the new.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't write. Like, it wasn't great that Taya had nothing to do in the 90s. Is it even better that Tori has nothing to do in the, 2010s? 2010s at that point? Like, 5Ds was 2008, so it has to be 2010s. And they're writing her like she's a 90s anime woman with nothing to do other than cheerlead on the side.
She just goes, and yells at people for being mad at humor, I guess.
But
because
Taya had plots, you know, like Taya had been. Like, they weren't great plots for progression's sake, but like she got possessed. She like had opinions on things. She told Joey he was an idiot constantly. Like,
There is one thing that she performed, which is specifically being inside of a blimp in specifically the Force Focus episode I mentioned. So it's like stakes, kind of.
Because that Force Focus episode is one of the few ones in Zexal 1 I remember. When you ask me to think of Zexal 1 episodes, all I think of are the silly filler ones. I can't actually remember almost any details from the real plot. I remember the guy who made him eat tomatoes. I
love the tomato guy.
I love the tomato guy. Yeah, like I remember all of the filler. I remember the guy who his mum was Star Sparrow Galaxy or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Mom,
You did that too convincingly, I'm gonna admit.
Too much Zexal. But or not enough, one could say. But yeah, I 100% agree.
Dude, you summoned your mom is definitely a legendary line.
So many good lines in Zexal. They need more clips. I think GX is probably the most clippable though, because it has so many weird ones of like you're dueling a monkey and then Bastion stripping off and running through like the school naked. Like GX just feels like it's made for like weird abstract.
Professor Eisenstein dying off the cliff. Dude really was just like, you know what? I've had enough. And he just jumps off a cliff. It's just like, oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Thank you for listening, and over to the comments we received last episode. I asked the question, do you watch us duel on TikTok live? Master Blitz, Toasty Chow, Cillian, and do all watch us on live, and they actually enjoy it a lot. Cillian says that they enjoy it. It's so entertaining, it got him back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And he's so happy that he's not the only one who plays Yu-Gi-Oh! It's true, there's a lot of us back, and our friend Jank should be coming back from his long retirement from TikTok Live very shortly. Toasty enjoys the tag team live. It's been something they've been trying newly on TikTok, 2 versus 2 games. It took a little bit of getting used to, but I think we've cracked it now and it's pretty fun. A bit of a change of pace. Our poll last week, chosen by last week's guest Ghost, also known as Dr. Soma, who has now received his TikTok account back, so we're back on the 70k account. Wonderful news for him. Congratulations for being so strong and not getting too upset as the old account was removed. His question last week was, who was your favourite Yu-Gi-Oh! Rival? Kaiba is by far the winner of this poll, with Shark and Jack pulling up in second place jointly, and Chaz and Zane in third. No votes for Kite, sadly. I feel sorry for him. If you want to partake in a poll, then go over to the Spotify version of the podcast, and you can use it on the interact section there. Until next time, I can't wait to see you all back next week, assuming any of you come back next week. My fingers are crossed. I'll be reading all comments that I can find. This week's poll is, do you think that we'll get a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list before next week's episode of the podcast? If you're not able to do the Spotify poll, then just do it in the YouTube comments. Thank you very much and have a wonderful week, all of you.